This is a book review of the lifestyle illustration of the 60s. Now this is by Rian Hughes, edited by Rian Hughes, and it's from Fiell. You can see there, it's quite a thick book, 576 pages, came out in 2010. I think it is sadly out of print now. Obviously you can still get copies, but they're slightly expensive. I would love to see, obviously, a new version of it. Obviously maybe a 1,000-page book, even better. So what's inside? Well, it's illustrations. It's all in colour and black and white, mix of, all the way through, all the way from 1960, 1961, 62, 63, 64, etc., all the way through to 69. And what is it? Illustrations from like Women's Own, Women's Magazine, Women's Journal, Women's Realm, Women's Weekly, and probably loads of other ones, Petticoat, and Home and Garden. There's quite a few. And before I actually go through the book, I'm just going to quickly show you some of the books, this sort of thing. And I've just got a magazine, Good Housekeeping here. And this is sort of, so you would have like a lovely illustration here. Obviously you can see the size is slightly smaller. Obviously sometimes you get these magazines, they're quite large, especially if you like to get French ones. French ones are enormous, so you get some really great illustrations there. So you can see them there. And some of the magazines that were really good, of course, Women's Own, got quite a few of those. Women's Realm, excellent as well. And also this one, which you wouldn't think would have great illustrations, but of course, great illustration on the front cover. I don't think that one's in there. But you've got others, they always put stories in here. So you would have a story, and there you've got this one, the more the merrier. And you've got a lovely illustration, again, slightly bigger than obviously the book there. So it's slightly been shrunk down, scaled down. So now I'm just going to go through the book itself. This book's got a great set of indexes. You've got an index there where you can see, obviously, 1963, the page number, 1966, the page number, all super useful, so you can just quickly go to that section. Also, you've got some biographies at the back, and also you've got an index as well, so you can just see all the different artists there, and also to go back to the pages where their works appeared. So that is super useful. Also, you've got a brilliant forward and introduction. I love books with forwards and introduction. Gives you a lot of detail about all that period, illustrations, what happened, what the photos sort of at the end, all those sort of things. So with that, into the book itself. Yeah, 1960. It doesn't give, unfortunately, any detail. Quite a few of them got like here uncredited, which is a pity, but I expect some people might say, oh, that must be XYZ. Tells you the magazine. It doesn't tell you the dimensions or the obviously the month. So that could be July, October, but it matters. But of course, if you want to go back and look at the original source material, it might matter. So you can sort of say, oh, the October issue, and then you can go and, of course, find a copy of it somewhere, various auction sites, all those sort of things. There are copies around. Now, you've got so many different artists in this. You've got Mark Miller there, Arthur Sarnoff, but you can really see, and the style changes. You can see how the world is changing. You've obviously got these initial pictures, and then it soon goes all the way through, all through the years. You can really see the changes of the styles, and obviously the subject matter as well. That's one slight criticism of the book, though I think this book is superb. It's like the best. It must have I don't know how many illustrations it's actually got. Must be a good over 1,000, 1,500 illustrations, because obviously you've got small four on a page there. So you've got quite a lot of material. But there's not like car illustrations particularly, or kids' comics ones, or sports ones. And obviously they all are lifestyle ones. I mean, the sports magazines must have had some sort of stories, illustrations. So there's obviously a lot of material that's not included, which is a pity. But still, you can't have everything in this book. And I think this book is absolutely superb. It covers a whole range of different things. Obviously some interiors, obviously exterior as well. You've got a lovely one there of Soho, just absolutely glorious. And again, you've got ones that obviously in the sun, obviously out Saint-Tropez or something, obviously something continental. And then you've got just the beautiful colour schemes I just love. And some, Walter Wiles, I assume that's how he says his name. So you've got some brilliant artwork. And I have at least put them together. Obviously some pages you've got obviously different people, different person there. But the styles, I mean, they actually, to me, they look sometimes you look at styles, they look fairly similar. Not always, but some do. I mean, I love that sort of style. I just love the light in there. And also the style of artwork on some of these, I just think they're absolutely beautiful. Some of you obviously got sort of like that. And also you've got like some headshots there. And obviously you'd have had some text there. I assume there would have been obviously the story, if it was a story, or maybe an article, because it doesn't always, it doesn't say, unfortunately, it doesn't say if this was being a particular story. Could have easily just been an article about something about houses or something. I really don't know. Or maybe a foreign holidays or something. Or this one, obviously you've got here decorating, Women's Journal. So who knows, maybe it was an article about sort of decorating in the house. But I just think the artwork is beautiful. I love those sort of ones. Just absolutely glorious. This is just 1961. You've also got things like Serenade. That was obviously a comic, but they had so many brilliant covers in Serenade. It's a pity they haven't got many of them, actually. It's got one or two, and that's it. There were a few magazines. I did have a couple of copies of Serenade and Valentine and all those sort of ones. Roxy, another one, Romeo. There were loads and loads, and obviously lots of the Spanish artists. There's a brilliant book, Masters of British Comic Book Art. That's got lots and lots of these brilliant illustrations as well. That's another great book. This sort of book could definitely have another 2 or 3 volumes. I would probably buy them, I'm quite certain, if they brought out a second volume of this. Obviously, there's also a 1950s one. I've got that already as well. So and also nicely, you've got the colours are all similar. So you've got some pages, obviously, and look at that. They're just beautiful. Oh, slightly odd. Maybe that's the Hulk and the She-Hulk kind of thing. Obviously, the green. Absolutely beautiful. There's page after page of beautiful artwork. Just glorious. And there's so many different styles, different ways of. And this one obviously is singing. You've got obviously some. And it's just obviously London Underground. Love that one. Just absolutely beautiful. Obviously, the man just looking across there, London Underground. And you haven't got too many of these sort of ones where it's just the actual illustration, not pen and ink or something. It's just, or whatever. It's not coloured, obviously. There's no pencil drawings, which is a pity. It would have been nice to have seen some source material, but obviously, clearly, that hasn't been saved. So that's. I mean, some of these are probably like also from, like I said, children's books. This one, I'm just looking at this. It obviously wasn't, but Homes and Gardens. You've got just beautiful illustrations. I mean, these would sort of like be on maybe like another sort of thing you could do, birthday cards and Christmas cards and all those sort of things. I would love to see a design book of 60s Christmas cards and birthday cards. There was some beautiful, and especially also the 50s as well. Absolutely glorious designs on those. And quite a lot of these you think, well, they could have easily been on those sort of cards as well. Obviously, you've got themes, obviously, the airport. And, you can see how things are changing. 1965, some just stunning, obviously, a railway station in France, absolutely glorious. And there's so many other, a lot of these, I would love to see books about these artists, because there's lots, I mean, I don't know about people turn around and say, oh, there are already books about this one, Eric Earnshaw. Now, it would be brilliant if someone brought out the art of Eric Earnshaw, the art of Lynn Buckham, and so on and so on. Just so many, and you can see how it changes. Now you've got 1970s. Now there's some really brilliant books I love, the sort of design illustration ones you get of the period, like 1969, 1970. And you can find them in charity shops for next to nothing most of the time, maybe £5, £4, whatever. They do turn up. And I've got a couple of copies. And I love those because they show all these sort of books, adverts, the book designs at the time, obviously the magazine designs, and these sort of things. And they're absolutely glorious. And this one, this is a magazine called Intro. Must admit, don't know that one. You've got Petticoat there. Beautiful. Women's Journal. And these magazines, these Women's Journal, all those sort of things, they can be found. Though it's pretty hard. I don't know if there's any source libraries that have got lots and lots of these, maybe the British Library, the Victoria and Albert Art Library. I don't know. It'd be really lovely that these sort of things should be collected and saved, because it's just glorious artwork all the way through. And this one here, Go Girl. Never heard of that magazine. I assume it was reasonably popular. Again, one of my favourite, Esteban Maroto. Brilliant Spanish artist. I love his work. Petticoat magazine. And you got Hilda Offen. That's very nice. And you've got lots of different styles here. Absolutely. Oh, actually got quite a few pages of that. Other ones here, Barry Zaid, Jerry Fawcett. And these sort of ones, you imagine they're sort of like birthday cards, sort of done design. It's sort of similar, but this one is actually Petticoat magazine. Just also all the fashions and things as well. That's another thing that's really quite good. Obviously, photos give much better representation, but this is what the idealised view of the 60s instead of obviously the actual. You've got Petticoat there. Lots of pictures from Petticoat. And through to 1968, then Women magazine, 1969, Women magazine, and so on. So I'm just going through this. Just absolutely beautiful artwork all the way through. But you can definitely see the way the world's changing and the artwork's changing with that as well. So it's and of course at that point, I suppose what happened, more and more photos came into the magazines. Obviously, in the 1970s, I assumed that lots and lots of in the 1970s there were lots of these sort of drawings and paintings and whatever. And it would have been lovely if there'd been a lifestyle illustrations of the 60s, 70s. Would have been brilliant, but maybe they just couldn't bring out 1,600 obviously 1,600 illustrations in a book for the 70s. But that would have been absolutely wonderful. Obviously, 80s, 90s, probably a bit trickier. But I think this is an absolutely glorious book. I love this. This is one of my favourite books. Not a book that I think you could sort of, you might not read through it. I think it's one of those books you sort of like dip into and you sort of, you go through, or maybe like say you could just go to the back and then say, I'm just going to look at, Eric Earnshaw or maybe Michael Johnson. Just go and look and see the artwork because they're not done in that order. They're obviously date order. Though I'm not certain if they're done date order within the year itself. No idea. But I think this book is just one of my favorites. The only slight issues I've had with this book, and because of repeat, is that the book cover actually starting to get, because it's a soft thing, it's sort of bending, and you can really feel the ripples in the cover. But anyway, it's just been loved and used and read and looked at many times. I just think it's just one of the best collections. I say I would love to have seen additional volumes as well, but that's obviously didn't happen. So, but wow, what a brilliant collection. And now I think it's out of print now, so it's trickier to get, but of course copies can be still found, and I'm certain looking around. Sort of one thing that back in the when we could, there's like comic conventions or other book markets you could go to, and they were always great places. I saw this book quite regularly in my comic convention. It was like £5, and so you can pick them up reasonably priced, maybe in obviously a charity shop. Again, once they're open again, you could pick up a copy of this sort of book. But obviously, if you go and look on various certain sites, the price is quite steep, I think. So anyway. Love this book, totally. Brilliant, totally recommended.